Today's recipe calls for homemade garlic mayo. I'm going to show you how to make the ultimate chicken sandwich ever. So with that said, let's get started.
The first thing we need to do is preheat our oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit or 230 Celsius. You'll notice that your chicken breast is super thick on one end and it tapers out to be thin on the other end. We need to flatten it out so our chicken breast is completely even and the same thickness. This way we get a nice even bake on our chicken breast. You can use whatever device of your choice to flatten them out. I'm going with a rolling pin because it's super easy and convenient. Whatever method you decide to use to flatten out your chicken breast, you need to ensure that you cover them up with a zip top bag like this, or use some plastic wrap, because when we go to pound them out, a ton of juices are going to be released and we don't want to spread bacteria. When you're flattening out your protein, you want to use light to medium force. You don't want to get too crazy with it. We don't want to rip our chicken breast in half or make it way too thin so it dries out in the oven. When you're giving it the old whack job, you mainly want to focus on the thick end, and you want to flatten it enough until it's the same thickness as the thinner part of your chicken breast. This way it's completely even all the way across. Also, you want to rotate your chicken from time to time when you're flattening them out. This way it's completely even and uniform across, because if you focus on just the center or the sides, you're going to end up with something that's thin on one end and bulging on the other. I ended up using a 3-pack of chicken for this recipe. You can use as much or as little as you need. You want to do your best to buy chicken breasts that are close to the same size. This way it'll make it a whole lot easier when you go to bake it. And if you can't find chicken that's equal in size, you may just have to cook a larger piece longer than some of the smaller pieces that are in your pack. And I shot for chicken breasts that were about medium in size. Anytime you're working with raw chicken like this, you want to ensure that you clean everything really thoroughly. That includes your hands and your work surface, because we don't want to spread bacteria. In the end, this is what your chicken should look like. Something that's not too thick, nor is it too thin, and it's all even Stevens. Now that all of your protein is pounded out, you're going to grab a half sheet tray and line it with some parchment paper, or you can also use a baking dish for this. The next thing we're going to do is lightly drizzle our chicken breast with some olive oil. I'm using some leftover garlic infused oil that I have from making confit garlic. You want to drizzle your chicken with about a 1/4 teaspoon or enough oil until everything is nice and well coated. Once you have your oil in there, you're going to give it a quick toss-a-roo to coat everything really well. The oil will help allow the seasoning to stick to our chicken and also prevent it from sticking to our pan. Now that everything is nice and well coated, you're going to throw it on your half sheet tray and leave enough space in between your chicken breasts. This way they're not touching, so we can get a nice even bake on everything. You want to season your chicken really well with kosher salt. This salt will bring a ton of flavor to our chicken, so don't be too shy. After you've seasoned it with salt, you're going to add all your favorite herbs and spices. You can get as crazy as you wish with this. I'm using the same seasoning that we used in our baked chicken video, which is 1 teaspoon onion powder and 1 teaspoon garlic powder. And with the fine powders and seasonings like this, you want to ensure you do your best to get as much on the chicken as possible, because anything that's not on your chicken and is just free floating on your pan has the potential to burn. And besides using the onion powder and garlic powder, I wanted to make it a bit spicy, so I'm using some N.A.D.C spicy chicken seasoning as well. Once everything is seasoned, you're going to lightly rub your seasoning into your chicken breast. This will help ensure that everything is nice and well coated. Once you have the first side seasoned really well, you're going to give your chicken breast the old flippy floppy. You're going to repeat the same process of seasoning your chicken. This will help ensure that our chicken is flavorful all the way across. Now that you've Bob Rossed your chicken breast with some seasonings, you're going to grab it and throw it in your preheated oven. We're going to set a timer and let this first side bake for 6 minutes. Now that your timer's gone off, you're going to pull your chicken breast out of the oven, give them the old quick flip. This way we get a nice even bake. And when you're pulling your chicken in and out of the oven, you want to be fast about it. This way we don't lose any of the heat. Once they're back in there, we're going to set another timer and let this side bake for an additional 6 minutes. In total, I baked my chicken breast for 12 minutes, or until it reached the internal temp of 155 Fahrenheit. You're going to bake your chicken until it hits that 155 or 68 degrees Celsius. You may need to go longer or shorter than that, just depends on how hot your oven runs. When you're putting your thermometer into your chicken breast, you want to throw it right in the center, in the thickest part. If you go too high or too low, it'll throw off the reading and you'll end up with something that's undercooked or overbaked. Now that they're done baking, you're going to let them rest and hang out for about 6 to 7 minutes. This way they can reabsorb all of its juices. The next thing we need to do is make our own homemade garlic mayo. I'm not going to go into too much detail on how to do this. I have a full video on how how to make it, so I'll leave a link in the description so you can go check that video out. There's a few more items that we need to prep for our chicken Sammy. So grab yourself a medium-sized tomato and cut 1/4-inch slices. And it's always easier to use a serrated blade to do this. The next thing we're gonna do is make some avocado slices. A little pro tip, you should always wash your avocados. Even though it has that protective shell on the outside, a ton of people grow them at the grocery store, and if their hands are dirty, your blade is going to touch the outside before it touches the inside of your avocado, and you're just going to put those germs from the outside inside. The next thing we need to do is peel our avocado. So you're going to grab a small paring knife for this job. You're going to lay your avocado flat on your work surface, and you're going to cut through the skin right down the center, making a superficial cut. You don't want to cut too deep. Once you make your cut, you're going to start to peel off all of the shell, leaving you with the full avocado to make slices. Once you have it out of the shell, you're going to cut out any impurities, and you're going to start to make 1/8 inch slices of avocado. You want to do something that's super thin, this way we get the most out of it, and it'll look the most aesthetically pleasing as well. The next thing we need to do is toast our buns, so grab a large saute pan and throw it over medium-high heat. You're going to coat the bottom of your pan really well with some unsalted butter. Once you have that done, throw your buns right on top. You can use whatever type of bread of your choice. I went with brioche today because that's what I like. Once you have your carb of choice in your pan, you're going to lightly press on it. This way it makes full contact with your pan, so we get a nice even toast. You're going to toast your buns for about 1 to 2 minutes or until they're nice and golden brown in color. Now that your buns are toasted, we're going to fry an egg. So grab yourself a small non-stick pan and throw it over medium-low heat. We're going to allow our pan to warm up. Now that your pan is nice and warm, you're going to give it a quick spray with your favorite non-stick spray, or you can hit it with a small drip of oil. Once you have it nice and well coated, you're going to crack a large egg into it. We're going to let this first side cook for about 1 to 2 minutes or until the translucent whites of our egg start to cook and fully turn white in color. You'll also know when this first side is done cooking if you can swirl your pan around and your egg moves freely. That means it's not sticking anymore and you're able to flip it over. You may need to use a rubber spatula to help break it up a little bit, which is totally fine. Once it's moving around freely, you're going to give it the old flick of the wrist and flip your egg over, and you're going to cook this other side for another 1 to 2 minutes. You can leave it on your heat source, but turn off your burner and let it carry over cook. Now that everything's prepped out and ready to go, it's time to start making our sandwich. So grab your homemade garlic mayo and give the top bun and the bottom bun a good smear of mayo until your little heart is content. Now that you got mayo on your buns, it's time to add your chicken breast. In hindsight, I should have sliced my chicken on a bias. This way it would have taken up more room on the bun and made the sandwich more full. Next, we're going to add some tomato slices, and of course you need to season your slices of tomato with some coarse ground kosher salt and some fresh cracked black pepper. The next thing we're going to add to our sandwich is our sliced avocado. It's also really important to season these as well with some coarse ground kosher salt and some fresh cracked black pepper. We're going to throw our fried egg on top. The next thing we're going to add to our sandwich is some spinach leaves. The next thing we're going to add on top of that is some pickled red onion. If you're not sure how to make those, don't worry. I have a full video on how to make pickled red onions. I'll also leave a link in the description so you can go check that video out as well. Then realize that your sandwich ingenuity sucks and take it apart, and I recommend that you go fried egg and then your pickled red onion and then your lettuce leaves. This way everything stays intact. Once you've added everything but the kitchen sink to your chicken sandwich, you're going to throw the bun on top so we can cut this thing in half. Now that you've added everything that your little heart desires, you can give it the old cross-section cut to show off all the goodies, or you can leave it whole and eat it as is. Whatever you decide to do, just enjoy.
Alright, now that our chicken sandwich is done, let's give it the old taste-a-roo. Looking at it, it looks super messy, but in a yummy way. And outside of that, it looks aesthetically pleasing because it's stacked nice and high, and there's a ton of different colors going on for it. Overall, it just looks really good. Let's give it a shot. Alright, now that I'm done trying it, I'm gonna take my apron off. I was super worried about getting some schmutz on my shirt. Alright, there we go. One more bite. Our chicken sandy came out super tasty. It is indeed really messy, but it definitely makes up for it in the flavor department. There's so many great things going on for it. It has that nice, deep, rich garlic flavor. Then it's a bit spicy from our seasoning. It's also rich and fatty from our avocado and our egg yolk. And it has a bit of sweetness from the bun as well. The acid in our tomato and our pickled red onions help cut through all that rich and fat and sweetness as well. Texture wise, it's nice and perfect. The bun is super soft. We get some crunchiness from our spinach and our pickled red onion as well. And the chicken itself is nice and juicy and really tender. Overall, this thing is just banging. These chicken sandies are super easy to make. You can bake off a ton of chicken and feed a ton of people all at one time. Just let everybody fix their sandwich the way they want. Maybe add some more ingredients like bacon or bacon jam, which you might be pushing your luck, so you might not do that. Or you can get rid of the bun entirely and use some lettuce leaves to make it a touch healthier. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Thanks for watching. And I need to go see if I can minor in like structural engineering or something, because that chicken sandwich was getting pretty tall and I might need a permit next time. Dad jokes. I'll see you on the next one. It makes up for it. Tomato help cut through all that richness. I want to say hamburger. It's rich garlic flavor to it. It's also fatty. Clear my throat.